What's up, guys? So, today we have a very special guest for the first time on Instagram Live. We have a mortgage advisor. So, Tony is a mortgage advisor. He actually helps sports people specifically. So I know that there's a lot of sports people out there that are like, I have a really inconsistent income and I don't really know like if I'm ever going to be able to get a house. And Tony is here and he's going to help us, and you can get a house. Like, it's Tony, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. I'm good. So we are going to talk mortgages because that is your special subject. But you're not just any mortgage advisor. You are a sports specific, athlete specific mortgage advisor.
Yep.
So yeah. So how did you make the transition from normal mortgage advisor to sports specific mortgage advisor?
It's just through luck, to be honest. I started talking to a few people in the sports industry, and it's word of mouth really that gets it going. And I really enjoyed working with them. It's quite niche where you're talking to these professionals, guys at physical peak, but they've maybe only got about a 10-year career, and they can't afford mortgages over 30 years. So it was just chatting to them, finding out, helping them develop and getting business plans in place. And I thought, I really like this. And then before you know it, they're referring me on to their friends because I did a good job, and it just grew from there.
So you basically grew your business in the best possible way by referrals, which is literally like the dream.
Yeah. 100%, and it's difficult to break into that industry, especially when I'm not in the industry, so I don't have many contacts. So word of mouth and referrals has been invaluable.
And you've got like a special referral scheme as well, haven't you?
That's right, yeah. Standard, I offer £50 referral to anybody that refers someone on. However, I offer a £100 referral to a dedicated sports team of their choice. So it could be at any level. It could be grassroots level. It could be elite level, anything at all. And it'll be £100 to go to that team, which is, nobody really does anything like that. So it's pretty good.
No, exactly. That's why I really liked it. Like, really caught my attention. I thought, it's so nice that you're trying to give back and you're trying to, help people that will eventually, I mean, even if it was a kids sports team, they're eventually going to need a house. Like, maybe it's going to be in 20 years, but who's to say you're not still going to be doing this in 20 years and they're going to come right back to you,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like full circle. Like, everyone helps everyone and everyone's sort of growing, progressing together, and that's the dream.
Yeah.
So, have how long have you been doing this now? Working with sports people?
I went self-employed in August, and
oh wow, so not that long.
Not that long. My previous company, it was a new build specialist, and I spoke to a few. And when you're dealing with new build, you're dealing with people that have got a good bit of money usually, and a lot of high-end athletes in Scotland are looking at these kind of properties. So I managed to get a few from there, and then when I went self-employed, just by luck, these people are referring business on to me, and I thought, I'm good at this, I'm enjoying this, I'm going to niche this market, make it mine.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the best niche. Like, I mean, to me, I just think it's awesome. So yeah, fair play. So what I was going to say was, I know it's like the big old buzzword at the moment, but how's COVID affected it?
Hugely. I did not do any work for 2 months. Well, very, very little for 2 months, and I worked from home anyway, so that was a bit of a challenge, having to work from home and not have any work to do. So I found myself relocating to the kitchen with the cooker on most of the day. But it's picked up the last few weeks. It's been really, really busy. I don't know what the market's down where you are, but up here in Scotland, it's just booming.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mess, to be honest, still down here. People are, I mean, from what I've seen, people are reluctant to sell because they know that people that are buying are looking for a bargain.
Yeah.
So it is a great time to buy in theory, but actually it's not, because people are just holding back and there's like nothing on the market because there's just no one wants to risk it.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, but I could sell in 6 months for 30 grand more, you know,
yeah.
which makes sense.
Exactly. Up here it's completely different. Up here you get the
Yeah.
home report, so the valuation's done before someone's making an offer, and most of the time just now people are throwing in 10, 15 grand above the home report to buy a house. That they think that people up here had the same idea, that we'll get a bargain just after COVID, we'll get in. People are trying for quick sales, and it's been the opposite, which is unbelievable, to be honest, but it's been great for me business wise.
Yeah, that's absolutely great for you. So I mean, so I guess it depends where you are in the country or in the countries, but is it a good time to buy, do you think, or not so much now?
There's never a wrong time to buy, to be honest. You could wait 6 months and the market may not crash. So if you're in a position to buy just now, you've got the money there, you're in a stable job, you know that you're going to be secure, then why not, is what I say. But if you are reluctant in any way, if you think that there's maybe some chance that you could be made redundant, that could play a big factor in affordability. So I would say maybe hold off. But if you don't have any concerns, there's never a wrong time to do it.
Yeah, that's fair. So let's talk about mortgages, not houses. That is your speciality. So inconsistent earnings is a big thing. Obviously, a lot of athletes have that. As you said earlier, a lot of athletes have a 10-year career, and that's not really viable for a 30-year mortgage. So how do you help them, and how are you different to a normal mortgage advisor?
How the athletes are paid is fundamental. How the mortgage works. You get some athletes that go from contract to contract, and they could go a year, 2, 3, 4-year contracts, and they'll know exactly what they'll be paid for that length of time, depending on the sport that they're in. But many athletes are paid per event, which is where the real difficulty comes in, and how to structure the mortgage. If you're paid back per event, it all depends on where the income's coming in, because you could be paid in America, for example, so you'd pay tax in America, so you couldn't really use that as a UK income. Well, you can, but generally you can't use US income, untaxable UK income, to buy a house here. So it's quite difficult in that sense, where people would just look at it and write it off and say, well, you're not earning anything in the UK, you're not getting a mortgage here. Whereas in actual fact, they are living in the UK, they're based in the UK, they're employed essentially in the UK, but they go over there for a single event, they're maybe over there for a month or so, and they're getting paid in that currency. Why shouldn't they get a mortgage? And people just put their hand up and say, no, it's not possible, when in actual fact, if you do a little bit of research, it is possible. And that's where I come in. I'm able to help people. The easiest way to structure your income really is to go through as self-employed, because then it doesn't matter if you're getting paid it's contract to contract or event to event. They'll take your annual earnings into consideration when you do your tax return. So if you're structured as self-employed, that can certainly help when looking at it.
Okay, well, that's really good to know. So if anyone listening is a fighter or another type of athlete, the best thing to do is to be self-employed, and then it doesn't really matter where you're earning as long as you're earning. Yeah, okay. So also, I know that we've talked in the past about coaching. So a lot of athletes do coaching on the side, which obviously I do as well.
Yeah.
I have my coaching business. So that helps. Does it with a mortgage?
It does, yeah. Any form of income that you've got is going to help. Any athlete that is looking for any form of career outside of the profession that they're in, because especially if it is going to be a short career, you're not going to, well, you never know if you're getting a big Hollywood fight at age 55, like some of these returning boxers are getting nowadays, but you're generally fighting in your prime when you're young, fit and healthy, and then after that, there's no income. So if you're young, you've set up your coaching business and you've got a business plan in place to show that, right, I'm fighting just now, or whatever it is that you're doing, this is what I'm doing right now, but I've got a plan in place. So in 10 years' time, when I'm not doing this, instead of dedicating most of my time to this career, I can just easily transition into this career because you've already started. So
Yeah.
it's essential to do something like that, and talking to people when they're quite young in the process of whether they're just starting out in their career or whether they're a good few years into it, is try to get them into that mindset of where do you go next? What happens when you're essentially retired? It's the dream to retire at 30 for everybody, but most athletes can't afford to retire at 30, which a lot of people don't see when you're seeing the big brands in the TV, the big commercial sports like football, rugby, cricket. They think that these guys are worth millions, and most of them are, but most athletes aren't in that bracket.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's just the top like 5%, and you know, I mean, even just as much as MMA, you know, even some of the guys in UFC, I know they're struggling. You know, because they might get paid 50 grand for a fight, but then they have to pay their coach, they have to pay their nutritionist, they have to pay their gym, they have to pay all like these different fees. And by the time, you know, it's over, they've got 15 grand, and that's what they've got for, you know, 3, 4, 5 months, you know, and it's like, oh but they got 50 grand for a fight. Well, no, they didn't. They got 15 grand, which is a massive drop down, you know, because they've had to pay everyone else. And, you know, I mean, a lot of MMA fighters at the moment are getting lucky with sponsorships, but then your sponsorship is only really valid if that brand is still valid.
Yeah.
You know, so like brands are going under left and right at the moment. I know a couple that have gone under in COVID, and it sucks, but it's like, you know, the knock-on effect is so much worse because, you know, yes, that brand has gone under, but actually that means that these 10 fighters are now not being looked after.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a knock-on effect. So, and obviously, well, I know fighting because that's what I do. I don't know about other sports and this level on other sports, but I know that like it's so hard to break through anyway. And then if you're thinking about, you know, the consistency of it, like, I mean, I didn't have a fight for 2 years because someone decided to drive into me when I was on my motorbike and smash up my shoulder. So I couldn't even lift my arm, you know, at all. And I was 6 months, couldn't even lift my arm, you know?
Yeah.
So that's, and you can't get anything from the insurance from that because you can't prove, oh, well, I would have fought. Well, prove it. No, how do you prove it? You can't. So, you know, then mortgage-wise, it looks like you're being inconsistent again, but actually you're like, well, I just had an injury that I couldn't do anything about, but then it makes everything worse. So then if you have the coaching sort of like to back it up, then it's like, well, okay, at least you have some kind of consistency there.
Yeah, 100%. You've just pretty much summed it up exactly. That's what the lenders look at when they're looking at income for sports professionals. They take everything like that into consideration, and it could be any sport. You could be in an accident, your career could be completely gone. You could be 21, you could be the best thing to come for the sport that you're in, and then you get injured and nobody wants to talk to you anymore because that's it, your career's done. Where do you go? You haven't bothered with any coaching badges or trying to get into any form of work, and you're still young, so you end up going elsewhere and moving away from the sport that you love, which is a shame.
Yeah, I mean, it's injuries are just the worst thing that can happen, but and again, the worst and the best thing that can happen to some people, but I mean, they are mentally very tough to deal with, more so than physically, I would say. So your recommendation for anyone who's looking to maybe invest in a property would be consistency, get as much kind of consistency and proof that you're consistent as possible.
Yeah, 100%. If you can talk to an accountant, because you could get paid once a year or you could get paid 3 or 4 times a year, but if you're self-employed, that doesn't really matter because what you're declaring is your yearly income. rather than going to a lender with a copy of a contract for one event and trying to convince them you haven't done an event in a year, and trying to convince them to give you a mortgage. It's quite difficult to do that. But if you're self-employed and you've got income coming in, and it could be sporadic, and most people that are self-employed, it is, you'll have a great, even when you look at tradesmen, for example, it's no different. Fundamentally, it's the exact same. Tradesmen are going to be, depending on the trade, generally quite quiet during December. Nobody's wanting to get somebody out to paint their house or to do any joinery work really during the winter. But you might have boiler engineers quite busy at that time of year, and then they get quieter as the year goes on. So it all comes down to different, that you peak at different times. So that's what self-employed and talking to an accountant and getting your books is all about, and making it easy as possible to get a mortgage, and it really does help.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it makes so much sense. It's like, you know, just declare things, talk to an accountant, like all the things that you're told that you don't do.
Yeah, that's the big one. Often talking to people, it's I'm earning more than this, but my accountant's not putting it through. And you can't do anything.
That's not going to help.
Yeah, you can't do anything with that. But the accountants are good at what they do, because they're quite creative in the ways that they can help you save money, but at the same time, it could impact the amount of money that you can get at the other side, which is just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah. For sure, for sure. So if anyone is watching this back, or if they're watching right now, there's a couple of people watching live, how can they get in contact with you? What's the best method to get in contact with you?
They can find me on social media, on my Instagram, my Facebook, but I would say if they come directly through you, and make sure that you get a wee bung for your coaching business, and we can do it that way rather than coming to it. They can come to me direct if they want, but it's probably
just make sure you say my name if you go direct.
Yeah, that's it. Say your name when they come direct, and I'll make sure that you get your £100 for the club.
Yeah. Okay, so my last question is, I do this chat every week, and the purpose is to promote people that do something a little bit different. So if there's someone out there that's watching, what would you say to them if they were thinking, I want to break free from the norm, I want to do something that's a little bit different? What would you say to them?
I would say have the courage to do it. Don't double check yourself. Go out. If you've got a vision, do it. You need to have ambition, and you need to, and you might fall flat in your face, but that's life. You're going to fall flat in your face throughout your whole working career. So if there's something that you want to do, go and give it a go. If it doesn't work out, something else will come along.
I love it. That's brilliant. Yeah, I always say, like, just make a decision. It doesn't matter if it's the wrong one. It was the right one at the time.
100%. You'll always look back, and in hindsight, you'll think, well, maybe I should have made a different decision. But if you want to do something, make the decision, commit to it, go and give it a go. And it's always the right decision at that time. And if it doesn't work out, it still doesn't make it the wrong decision. It was the right decision. You've learned from it. And yeah, that's exactly it.
All about making those good lessons. Oh, someone's just written, great advice here, guys. Was about to move before this whole thing went down. Good to know there are people like yourselves out there. Yes. So thank you. I can't even see who that is because it's above the thing on mine. But thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So thank you, Tony, so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. Have you got anything else that you want to shoehorn in there?
Thanks very much for having me. It was great. Really enjoyed chatting to you, and yeah, get in touch if you ever want to chat again or any other questions.
Brilliant. So guys, I encourage anyone who is looking for a mortgage to get in contact with Tony and mention my name. Very important, mention my name. All right, thank you so much, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks again. Take care.
Bye.